Welcome back for another video. This is set to be the biggest FPL season ever, with a record number of sign-ups in the first 24 hours. And the next video in the pre-season series is players to avoid. These are players that in my opinion should be left out of your drafts for various reasons, and we'll go through them all now. I've partnered up with a fantastic fantasy football scout for the 5th year running. They've got countless FPL tools you can play around with, including lots of new ones. There's Opta data, award-winning articles, fixture ticker, player comparison, the pre-season tracker which logs all the minutes and all the goal involvements, data tables, loads more. I can't recommend them enough as a member for 9 years now myself and 5 years working with them. Use the link in the top of the description to join. They're doing 7 months free on the annual plan as well. I'll be posting daily throughout pre-season with hours of research going into each video, so make sure you hit subscribe to stay the most informed. And don't forget to install the FPL Focal app, which is free. Loads of tools in there to help make you a better manager and better decisions. Trusted by 500,000 FPL managers last season. So there's two halves to this video. First half will cover off players that are at risk because of the World Cup. So let me just explain that. After the World Cup, all players are expected to undergo a 3-week rest period. Legally or contractually, they're entitled to this rest and they cannot be forced back early by clubs. So players from Spain, France, Argentina and England therefore return to clubs on August 10th to 12th. Game Week 1 starts on August 21st, so it's a small gap and they'll get a tiny pre-season, like 10 days. Some players were barely involved for their countries, if at all, so it's not as simple as all these players will miss Game Week 1. A few are going to be willing to return earlier as well, while the majority will take the full 3-week rest period before coming back. So I've used a bit of assessment here myself. So we'll do players at major risk first. And as I say, I've weighed in some of my own assessment here in the sense that like some England players are here, even though they get a slightly longer break, and some Spain players aren't here, like Raya. So the list of players at major risk for Game Week 1 are Saka, Marino, Rice, Zubimendi, Martinez from Villa, Martinez from Man United, Enzo, James, McAllister, Victor Munoz, Romero and Pedro Porro. Saka and Rice third place at the World Cup, and both will likely get some time off at the start of the season, so avoid them. Saka's got this ongoing Achilles issue and Rice has been suffering with nerve pain reportedly. Marino and Zubimendi unlikely to be in many drafts realistically, but I've got to mention them just in case. Goalkeepers can be slightly different, but it wouldn't be surprising if Martinez misses Game Week 1 for Villa. And likewise his teammate Enzo at Chelsea. I mean, who knows if he'll even be a Chelsea player by the time the window closes, but yeah, right now he's got a reasonable chance of missing Game Week 1, along with James, who did pick up a little injury in the tournament, and he could miss Game Week 1 with Gusto potentially starting the first match there under Alonso. The other major risks are McAllister, Victor Munoz, Romero and Pedro Porro. It sounds like Romero's leaving Spurs anyway, so certainly avoid him, and I think Porro could be set to miss Game Week 1 as well. Porro I do think is going to be an excellent pick this season because they've tweaked bonus which benefits the fullbacks more, so they're not punished anymore for getting tackled, and in order to basically address the imbalance of defensive contribution players last season scooping up all the points, a player will earn now 1 BPS for every 3 DEFCONs instead of getting 1 BPS for every 2 like last season. So yeah, some fullbacks like Porro definitely ones to watch. And then let's take a look at the players that could be a potential risk. Now this slide isn't necessarily avoid these players as opposed to everyone else in this video. These are the semi-finalists mostly, who are going to get an extra day of rest essentially, having played a day before the final. Plus there is a couple of finalists in here, but they didn't play in the tournament. So the list is Madueke, Eze, Raya, Konsa, Rogers, Rashford, Pino, Pickford, Anderson, Gehi and Spence. Given Arsenal are almost certainly going to be without Saka and some midfielders, these two I think are likely to be involved Game Week 1, Madueke and Eze, but it is worth noting that some names here could just make the bench in Game Week 1 and then come on as some kind of middle ground. So basically what I'm saying is these players don't necessarily miss Game Week 1 entirely, but there could be a benching or two in this list. It wouldn't be a complete surprise if Kepa gets Game Week 1 for Arsenal and then Raya after that. But yeah, we've got him down as only a potential risk here, given that he didn't play a single minute in the World Cup, but of course did go all the way and win. I'd say 75-25 in favour of starting Game Week 1. Same goes for Pickford, same goes for Anderson, Gehi and Spence in fact. We should know much more nearer Game Week 1 in a few weeks. Konsa and Rogers were heavily involved throughout the tournament, which could see them get a bench in or maybe a rest entirely in Game Week 1. Okay, let's do part 2 of the video. So these are players to avoid for reasons unrelated to the World Cup. If you appreciate the research that goes into each of these, by the way, do hit subscribe. I'll be doing short and sweet daily pre-season content to keep you informed. So we've got Zolis, who's joined Arsenal for 34 mil. Exciting new signing, and he's their Trossard replacement. 41 goal involvements in 52 games for Club Brugge last season in all comps. So really impressive numbers. It's a huge step up from the Belgian League to the Premier League, and more often than not, new signings just need a bit of time to bed in. And in his case, he's got Martinelli for competition, maybe Madueke as well. And they could even end up signing another winger for all we know. So I've got him down as an avoid. Wait and see. Let's not sit on the fence here. So this next one is a hot take for sure. Gabriel. 8 million is the second most expensive that a defender's ever been in FPL's 24-year history. I mean, he was unbelievable last season. Goal involvements, clean sheets, DEFCON. He was everything you could want in a defender. It's a huge, huge price tag though, first of all. And secondly, Saliba is out for months. Plus, there are some other players expected to miss the start of the season, like Rice. So they're going to have a few players out, Arsenal. Arsenal have lost Saliba to injury before and have just not looked the same. Instead, I would actually monitor Raya, Mosquera and Timber. If any of those look set to start game week 1, then they seem like much better value. Timber in particular, if he's fit in time, 6.5 mil is a big saving, and he's unbelievably good when fit. Do you agree with me, or do you think Gabriel is still worth 8 million? Potentially another hot take here, because this is the second most owned 4 mil defender in the game, Van Whitlock. I was doing lots of research as always before I record, and he's a decent player. He's well rated, and he managed, I think it was 11 goal involvements last season for Coventry in right back and right wing back. The thing is here, so fullbacks from promoted teams that did well in the Championship basically always struggle to translate those numbers to the Premier League for obvious reasons. There's loads of examples in the past, like Davies and Doughty. Whereas we've got DEFCON now, which is a much more reliable source of points, especially for centre-backs as opposed to full-backs. I would rather back DEFCON from centre-backs than goal involvements from full-backs, if that makes sense. Because, these promoted teams have to defend much more, so they still get loads of DEFCON. So I just think the centre-backs is where you go when you're picking 4 mil defenders from Ipswich, Coventry or Hull. There is a lot of great value there. They're all 4 million defenders. So instead, I would opt for Thomas instead at Coventry. He's also 4 million. And that's just Coventry as an example. The same goes if you've got any 4 million fullbacks from Ipswich or Hull. Next up, Lucadinha. I don't care if he's not in the Prem anymore. It wouldn't be the players to avoid video without Digne, so he's in one last time. The ultimate FPL troll. Years ago, I started with him in Game Week 1 and he scored an own goal in the last minutes of the game to wipe his own clean sheet. He's just the absolute worst FPL asset most of the time. Just when he pulls you in with some good performances, he then goes on a bad run. So goodbye Digne, you won't be missed. Are there any players for you that have been complete trolls over the years whenever you've owned them? Mukiele was so good last season as well. I had him in my team for the majority of the season because he was 4 million. It was quite a breakout year for him. He was quite fortunate with some of the assists he got if you look at his output versus expected assists. And he does have much lower DEFCON potential in right back since moving there, if that does continue. He did start in right centre back. That aside as well, 5.5 mil is just a massive price jump. He'll do very well to make that price tag worth it, unfortunately. Avoid him. The left back situation at Arsenal is unclear as well. Arteta's probably going to interchange between Hincapié and Calafiori in all likelihood, so I just say they're too risky right now. If one gets injured, then the other one becomes an obvious pick, but even then, it's not totally out of the question for Lewis Skelly to get a game here and there in left back, so right now I'll just avoid both of them. Senesi comes in at a whopping 6 million. Now, he was the king of DEFCON among defenders last season, more than anyone, and he's now at Spurs. He's another one that could be a slight risk for Game Week 1, given that he was involved in the World Cup final coming on. But that aside, if you are backing Spurs to have a much better season, which I personally am, given all the signings, just opt for Van Hecke instead. He's 1 million cheaper than Senesi, 5 mil. Van Hecke over Van de Ven as well, for sure. I'd love to know what you'll think about the Man City mids. So Semenyo is cheaper than I was expecting, 8.5 million, and I think he looks like a perfectly fine pick. And Anderson as well, great pick, 6.5 mil. And then you've got Cherky, who's only 7.5 mil, and Foden's 7 mil. That's the cheapest that Foden's been for 6 years. Now, both of these two were incredible at times last season. Foden's hot streak, let's be honest, was a lot shorter lived, but I've got them both down as avoids, purely because it's a bit unclear how secure their minutes are going to be. Like Maresca, again, he could interchange the two of these. It could be Doku left wing, Semenyo right, and then maybe one of these two playing through the middle. And lastly, we like to finish these with a couple of jury's out picks. So these both have potential to be incredible picks. Mateta first, he's only 6.5 mil. But the reason I've got him down as a sort of remains to be seen pick is his minutes, because he's got Strand Larsen in the picture as well. Like last season, Mateta's minutes when he returned from injury were 30, 25, 31, 69, 25, 25, 59, 29, 13. Obviously different manager now, but will he suddenly be an 80 to 90 minute man? I avoid all players that are unreliable for minutes in FPL. Like the longer a player's on the pitch, the likelier they are to get you a return. So you want FPL assets in your team that are getting 90 to 100% of available minutes, not 50 to 75% every week. Like those missed minutes add up significantly over a longer period. Like let's say a player gets 3 60-minute substitutions, that's a full 90-minute match missed there. And Krupi's the other one, and this I think is going to be an unpopular one. He's a really interesting pick. So he's reclassified as midfielder. Joined biggest price rise this season. He's now 7.5 mil. Probably on pens. 13 goals last season. Insane for a teenager. The fixtures are just absolutely horrendous though. I was looking at the fixture ticker tool just now, and over the opening 6 game weeks, Bournemouth are rock bottom in the league. They've got to face Man City, Newcastle and Chelsea, all away games, plus they've got Liverpool home. The fixture ticker tool is free, by the way. Go to FPL.page or search FPL Focal in the App Store, QR code on screen. I was taking a look at the best rotations as well. Like, if you highlight Coventry, we're talking about Thomas earlier, and sort by rotation, I noticed that Brighton rotate insanely well with Coventry. So you could go for a pairing like Thomas and Kadioglu for only 4 mil and 4.5 mil. That could be really strong. I removed a few teams here as well, like Arsenal, because obviously we're looking for cheap rotations, and you'll probably find some better pairings than me. If you want to unlock all the extra features like sorting by rotation, it's only 77p a week. And make sure you become a premium member, and it supports the ongoing project. And do hit subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's FPL video. See you soon for the next one.